There's a tenet in philosophy called Hume's Guillotine. I want to show you what that has to do with open relationships and your relationships, your style of relationships. David Hume, the philosopher, he pointed out that you can't turn an is into an ought. There is what is and what it demonstrates to be, what is reality, what happens in nature observably. And then there's what it ought to be, what it should be, what people imagine things should become. Now, people who try to turn an is into an ought find themselves in miserable situations. I really want you to think about that. Anyone who try to turn an is into an ought find themselves in miserable situations. So I want you to think, there's a bunch of cat hair flying around here. So I want you to think about the situations you're in and the situations where you find yourself miserable. And try to think back, whenever you find yourself in a miserable situation, think of the is-ought dilemma that David Hume coined and points out that you can't turn an is into an ought. So what does that have to do with open relationships and your style of relationship? We've talked about in the past, in many videos of mine, that we humans did not evolve to be monogamous. If we evolved to be monogamous, we would not have to invent the word marriage. We would just pair bond with our partner and have no other dilemmas or no requisite for social contracts or legal contracts or obligation or social obligation or legal obligation for us to want to be with each other and not have to stray. But alas, it's not like that. So what is that we are not monogamous. So being not monogamous beings, creatures, or species, how can we have the best relationship model or the most effective and efficient, elegant model of relationship that we can have? For hundreds of thousands of years, we did not evolve. We were not monogamous. We practiced many different formats of relating and having sex and having copulatory relationships with men and women, males and females. Only recently, when we discovered agriculture, which is 10,000 or so years ago, very small sliver of time in the span of history. If this were human history, this very small one out of like the 24 hours in a day, it's 1 second. Out of our span as history, as the human evolution, human history, unwritten and written, it's a very small sliver of time, 10,000 years. And of that 10,000 years, we discovered agriculture and we discovered the idea ownership and property. And no longer were we nomadic and traveled where food was, where we stayed and we protected that place. We can survive and thrive in that one place because of ranching and farming, and we get to own the land. And men began to wanting to know that their children were their own. So going back, if we did not evolve to be monogamous and we didn't practice monogamous for the duration of our time, we can't be monogamous as human beings. There are people who want to, what's the most effective and efficient way of correlating with humans? Community is very important. You have a strong desire to be communal with people, to be social with people. One of the biggest punishments you could ever give someone is to deprive them of their social interactions with other people. That is what isolation does. When you're in isolation punishment, that's the worst punishment you can give somebody. In jail especially, the worst punishment you can have is isolation. So some people say, well, monogamy is the best one. Not necessarily scientifically monogamous, but what it ought to be is that one man, one woman raise a family, raise their children. Now remember that If you try to turn an is into an ought, you're going to find yourself in miserable situations. And I want you to think about all those people in a monogamous relationship finding themselves in miserable situations. Why? It's because they haven't evolved to be monogamous. They, they like and love other people. They want to be with other people, but they find themselves stuck in this model of relationship which does not work. It does not work. For a man, he's attracted to novelty. For a woman, she's attracted to other men depending on her time of the month. Whatever the case is, it's not monogamy. So what is the optimal format of relationship? Well, we have to take into account our requisite for variety, our requirement for community, for example, child rearing, having children. How do we raise them in a modern, not necessarily modern, it's actually not modern, non-monogamous relationship? How do you raise children? How do you have community with that? And how do you have a relationship with people without jealousy and the ideas of ownership which is prevalent in our society? And so what I've come up with is having the foundations of unconditional love, non-judgmental acceptance, and open communication. In fact, this second aspect, non-judgmental acceptance, is recognizing the is-ought dilemma. Is recognizing what is. Your partner is a particular kind and sort of way. Either they're a woman and will do woman things, or they're a man and they will do man things, or they're whatever gender role they prefer, and they will do their things. That's non-judgmental acceptance. Recognizing them for who they are and being able to facilitate who they are so that they can be who they want to be with you. And you can be the person that you are. See, the problem with relationships that find themselves in is-ought dilemmas where they ought to be this way when they're not actually monogamous, for example, is that they have to pretend to be the person that they're not every single time. So what they have to do is they have to pretend to be the person that their partner imagines them to be. This is why they say that relationships take work. It's a lot of work to having to pretend to be someone you're not. You can't truly be who you are. I want you to try it. Be who you are. You see a cute girl or you see a cute guy, go up to him and say, hey, I'd love to take you to bed or whatever. See what your partner says about that. You cannot be who you are in relationships where you try to turn an is into an ought. So, going back, when you find yourself in miserable situations, think about the is-ought dilemma, Hume's guillotine. If you're trying to turn an is into an ought, what is demonstrable, what is actual reality, and you try to say, oh, this ought to be this way. Why isn't it this way? This should be this way. No, it just is what it is. And then you work with what you've got. Hopefully that helps. If you want more, a model for relationships, which is absolutely incredible, check out the link in my bio, the SOR relationship system. Share this video with other people. You'll help make the world a better place for all of us. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.